This documentary is about Huma Abedin. The documentary has been produced by website.com Online Reputation Management, the world's leaders in negative public relations. Huma Abedin is an American political staffer who serves as vice chairwoman of Hillary Clinton's 2016 campaign for President of the United States. Prior to that, Huma Abedin served as the Deputy Chief of Staff to U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton from 2009 to 2013. Huma Abedin was the traveling Chief of Staff and served as assistant for Clinton during Clinton's campaign for the Democratic nomination in the 2008 presidential election. She is married to Anthony Weiner, a former U.S. representative from New York, while legally separated from him following revelations of Weiner's sexting scandals. Huma Abedin has 3 family members: her late father, her mother and her brother, connected to Muslim Brotherhood operatives and organizations. The 5 members of Congress allege that Huma Abedin had immediate family connections to foreign extremist organizations, which they said were potentially disqualifying conditions for obtaining a security clearance, and question why Abedin had not been disqualified for a security clearance. Documents made public from the FBI investigation of Hillary Clinton's private server provide clues about the current review of more than 500,000 emails linked to Clinton presidential campaign Vice Chair Huma Abedin. Huma Abedin was questioned by FBI agents and Justice Department officials, including those involved with counterintelligence matters, on April 5. The FBI reopened its Clinton email investigation after agents recovered a laptop computer from Anthony Weiner that reportedly contains some 650,000 emails now being reviewed by FBI agents. Anthony Weiner's laptop was obtained during an investigation into allegations the former congressman exchanged illicit messages with a 15-year-old girl. The FBI began reviewing the emails after receiving a search warrant on Monday.
If you didn't know the name Huma Abedin before yesterday, you certainly do now. She is the Hillary Clinton confidant at the heart of the new revelations about the Clinton email investigation. In a bizarre twist, it appears a separate FBI investigation into sexting allegations with a minor against disgraced former Congressman Anthony Weiner, the estranged husband of Abedin, is what actually led the FBI to these new emails. Whether they are relevant or significant, we just don't know at this point. But they've renewed scrutiny on Clinton's relationship with Abedin. She was described once by Politico as Hillary Clinton's shadow. That's how close they are. This is not just an ordinary Clinton aide. Trump brought up her name in a speech in Colorado earlier today.
I wonder, is she going to keep Huma? Huma's been a problem. Do we agree? Huma's been a problem. I wonder if Huma's going to stay there. And I hope they haven't given Huma immunity, because it seemed that everybody that walked down the sidewalk got immunity.
Huma Abedin has known Clinton since she began working for her at age 19. She has been by her side for the better part of 2 decades. William Cohen is a contributing editor at Vanity Fair. He wrote the article earlier this year, Is Huma Abedin Hillary Clinton's secret weapon or her next big problem? Thank you for being with me, Bill.
Sure, Poppy. Thank you.
Let's talk about who she is. What does she mean? What does Huma mean to Hillary Clinton?
Oh, I mean, everything. I mean, she's been by her side, as you said, for 21 years now. She just turned 40. So, I mean, this has been all of Huma's life, all of Huma's adult life. And she has been with Hillary when Hillary was a senator, when she was at the State Department, when she was First Lady. And now she's, vice chairman of the campaign based in Brooklyn. So this is a long-term, deep relationship, a close confidant. She travels on the road with Hillary. She was by her side during the Benghazi hearing. Even yesterday when she was making a statement about this whole new Comey investigation, she was by Hillary's side. So this has been a long-term, very deep relationship.
But she's not there today, Bill, and that's what's interesting. She's not on this 2-day Florida swing that Clinton is taking. You describe her in your piece as a third rail in the Clinton sort of political world, and that makes her somewhat untouchable.
Right. I mean, all of the other close advisors to Hillary that I spoke to for that piece did not want to be named. And were very wary of really talking about her because how powerful she is. She is literally, in every sense of the word, Hillary's gatekeeper. You can see that from the emails that have come out, how close she is to Hillary, how close she protects Hillary, who can get in to see her, who cannot get in to see her. And so nobody, of course, wants to be quoted saying anything negative about her for fear that they won't have access to Hillary anymore. So, I mean, Poppy, the real question that I have about this is, how, given the history of Huma and her husband Anthony Weiner, or her estranged husband Anthony Weiner, how could they have shared a computer knowing that Huma had on their computer sensitive information? How can they in the world share a computer? Who shares a computer anymore? Whether with anybody or a spouse, let alone a spouse like Anthony Weiner. So that's a real question of judgment that I don't understand.
This does come down to the judgment question that Donald Trump is clearly harping on here. Here's one line you wrote in the piece. For all her proximity to the white-hot center of American politics, Abedin is every bit as unknown to the general public as her boss is world famous. How has she stayed under the radar for 21 years?
Because basically she refuses all press inquiries. She obviously does not cooperate with my Vanity Fair piece, except for articles about her fashion sense, which have appeared in Vogue, including one in September. She went. In addition to that, she and Anthony also appeared together in a very lengthy New York Times Magazine piece when Anthony was running for mayor of New York before he blew himself up with these sexting scandals. So basically, she keeps away from the press. She's smart enough to know that Hillary is her number one client. Hillary is who she cares about. She's incredibly loyal to Hillary, and except for her fashion and trying to help Anthony when he was running for mayor, she basically stays out of the press, and therefore not many people know who she is.
Bill Cohen, I wish we had a lot more time, but everyone, you should read his piece in Vanity Fair. It came out in February, but a lot of fascinating information in it today. Thank you.
Thank you, Poppy.
Coming up, breaking news.
And you hear a lot about Huma Abedin, Secretary Clinton's longtime confidant, but do you really know who she is?
How are you?
This is Huma Abedin, Hillary Clinton's right-hand woman.
I'm proud to have served at the State Department, and I was honored to work for Secretary Clinton.
And today, the woman who the New York Times calls Hillary Clinton's most trusted and most visible confidant is facing tough questions on Capitol Hill.
I came here today to be as helpful as I could be to the committee.
But who is Huma Abedin, and what does she do for Hillary Clinton? The story goes back to 1996. Abedin, a student at George Washington University, gets an internship in the Clinton White House and is assigned to then First Lady Hillary Clinton.
I want to be your senator from New York. Thank you all very much.
During the 2000 Senate campaign, Abedin officially becomes Clinton's personal aide. And then, in 2008, serves as Clinton's body woman, essentially the person who follows right behind her during her first run for the White House. But when that didn't turn out, Abedin becomes Deputy Chief of Staff in Clinton's State Department. But that's not all. Just last August, the Washington Post reported this bombshell. Abedin worked for multiple private sector companies while working at the State Department, including work for a consulting firm run by a close Clinton ally, and simultaneously getting paid by the Clinton Foundation. An arrangement that's attracted criticism.
She could have them legally if people treated the law like a pretzel, and that was infinitely elastic, as the laws tend to be when they get in the Clinton orbit.
Some of Clinton's opponents also making an issue of Abedin's husband, notorious former Congressman Anthony Weiner, who famously tweeted controversial photos of his body parts and then lied about it. But Abedin's standing by her man despite her husband's scandal.
It was not an easy choice in any way, but I made the decision that it was worth staying in this marriage.
But as questions and controversy surround Secretary Clinton's use of a personal server to store government emails, there's one thing the emails do make clear. There are few people as close to Hillary Clinton as Huma Abedin. And in a statement issued today, the Clinton campaign saying, in part, the committee's focus on Huma is additional evidence that the actual attack at Benghazi and its lessons about how we might better protect diplomats serving in dangerous places are the last things on the committee's mind.
Her history and alarming connections are mostly unknown to the American people. Who is Huma Abedin? What do we know about Hillary Clinton's #1 aide and sidekick for 20 years? Hillary spoke at Huma's wedding saying, "If I had a second daughter, it would be Huma." This presidential election decides who gets to run the most powerful country on earth, so it is obviously very important to understand the facts about Huma Abedin, as she may very soon become Chief of Staff in the White House. I'll be simplifying an intricate web of people, organizations, and events that unraveled over many years. All of this information and more is available online for anyone who has access to Google. Anyway, here is an unbelievable story of infiltration, unfolding before our eyes, and the most important aspect of this election that you definitely won't see on CNN. There are four main players in this: Hillary Clinton, Huma Abedin, Abdullah Omar Nassif, and Saudi Arabia. Huma was born in the USA. Then when she was 2 years old, her family moved to Saudi Arabia. They lived in Saudi Arabia for 16 years. Huma returned to the USA when she was 18 to study at George Washington University. Only after 2 years in the country, she became an intern for Hillary Clinton, and soon after started working full-time. Also in 1996, Huma was working at her family business, a journal by the Institute of Muslim Minority Affairs. The Abedin's family business is owned by the Muslim World League, Saudi Arabia's global organization that promotes violent Wahhabi Islam. They even share an office at 46 Goodge Street, London. Saliha Abedin, Huma's mother, and Hassan Abedin, Huma's brother, currently work there still. Abdullah Omar Nassif is one of the founders of the Muslim World League and served as vice president of the Saudi Kingdom Shura Council. He created Huma's family business along with her father. He also funded Al-Qaeda and Osama bin Laden, as did Saudi Arabia, for many years. His organization was declared guilty of funding Al-Qaeda terrorism by the USA State Department. During the Holy Land Foundation trial in 2001, the FBI discovered that the Muslim Brotherhood gave over $12 million to Hamas, the terrorist organization. They also found the secret 18-page plan for the Muslim Brotherhood, which explains that their work in America is a kind of grand jihad in eliminating and destroying Western civilization from within. This document is available online in full. One of the many listed organizations within the Muslim Brotherhood was the Muslim Students Association, which Huma was an executive board member on for 3 years. Only 2 years after Huma left, Anwar al-Awlaki, the Al-Qaeda member and preacher to 9/11 hijackers, became chaplain of the same Muslim Students Association that Huma was a part of. To make things worse, Huma's mother, Saliha Abedin, is a leading member of the Muslim Sisterhood, the women's division of the Muslim Brotherhood. All of these organizations share the same goal and tell us repeatedly in plain English. They want to destroy Western civilization and replace our laws with oppressive Sharia law like you see in Saudi Arabia. On 9/11, Abdullah Omar Nassif, Saudi Arabia and Al-Qaeda tried to do just that. Where was Huma that day? The top funders of the 9/11 attacks created Huma's family business. Huma was officially working for the terrorists and Hillary Clinton the day those towers fell. Huma Abedin has never come forward with any information about her Saudi co-workers. Absolutely none of Huma's connections were mentioned by her during the investigations into 9/11. She has made no mention of her relationship to Abdullah Omar Nassif, the Muslim World League, Muslim Brotherhood, or her current status at her family business, which could be of unimaginable assistance to the FBI and the CIA. Huma's mother still works for the Muslim World League, yet Huma has made no effort to distance herself from her mother or her radical views. Saliha Abedin is a leading Sharia activist who has, for example, published a book called Women in Islam that claims secular man-made laws enslave women. It supports female genital mutilation, the death penalty for leaving Islam, the legal subordination of women, and the participation of women in violent jihad. Hillary Clinton has flown to meet with Saliha Abedin many times. Huma says that her mother considers her to be a big deal and is proud of her. Huma's absolute silence on all questions regarding her extremist ties says far too much. How can someone with such close links to terrorism be allowed access to our top secret information and have security clearances? especially since it was found that Huma was accessing Hillary Clinton's emails and physical documents. The Clinton Foundation received over $25 million from Saudi Arabia, and they also funded 20% of her election campaign. Saudi Arabia's massive influence on the Clintons and Obama administration has not gone unnoticed. The damaging results of Islamist influence on the USA and Europe is worthy of another dedicated report, as this is just the tip of the corrupt iceberg. But you can no longer deny that Hillary Clinton is actively working with a global movement whose goal is to destroy Western civilization, just for the selfish benefit of money and power. Huma is the previously hidden link between the Clintons and Saudi terrorism. Dozens of other people and organizations were left out of this for length. Any rational person should have high standards of evidence for claims such as this. So here is the fastest way to prove Huma's tie to Abdullah Omar Nassif that you can look up for yourself and is sourced by their own websites. Start at the website of Huma's family business, the Institute of Muslim Minority Affairs. See that Huma's mother, Saliha, and Huma's brother, Hassan, currently manage this company. Now go to the website for the Muslim World League, owned by Saudi Arabia and Abdullah Omar Nassif. Note the address is listed by their website, 46 Goodge Street, London. Now, back to Huma's family business. If you scroll down, you see that same address, 46 Goodge Street, London. Clearly anyone can prove in seconds that Huma's family business is owned by Saudi Arabian terrorists. Their own websites make no secret of this fact. There are no more excuses for Huma's silence. She has had years of opportunities to distance herself from terrorists and radical views, but would rather simply hide. The American people demand an explanation from Huma Abedin and Hillary Clinton before the election. One simple, straightforward question needs to be answered. Did Abdullah Omar Nassif create your family business? And were you working with him in any capacity on September the 11th, 2001? Yes or no? This year marks the 15th anniversary of the day Al-Qaeda murdered 3,000 innocent citizens. Let's not forget about it so quickly. Huma's security clearances should be revoked until she or Hillary directly address this national security threat. Unfortunately, in the meantime, because of the overwhelming silence and lies, it appears to be true that a vote for Hillary Clinton will be a vote for Huma Abedin, the Muslim Brotherhood, Saudi Arabia, Al-Qaeda, and a wish for the complete destruction of the United States of America.
Intelligence correspondent Catherine Herridge reports agents are using special software to sift through emails on a laptop belonging to Clinton aide Huma Abedin's estranged husband, who happens to be Anthony Weiner. The Wall Street Journal reports that the device may contain hundreds of thousands of messages. It is unclear how many involve Clinton or how many might be duplicates of ones the FBI has already reviewed. Catherine Herridge is live in Washington. A lot to get to here, Catherine.
Thank you, Shepard. Two intelligence sources report that over the weekend, the same multi-agency intelligence task force that was first used on the Clinton email case has been directed to re-engage with a directive to identify new classified material. These analysts are working overlapping shifts covering 16 hours a day through the weekend, and the tasking was to get clarity and fidelity on the records for FBI Director James Comey if he faced more pressure Monday from Congress, the candidates, and the White House for more details on the records. Meantime, FBI forensic computer experts developed a software program with key search terms. It's called deduping, which knocks duplicates out of the system. And with Sunday's warrant, investigators can now read the contents of the emails on Weiner's computer.
The first thing that they have to do is what's called deduping, which is short for deduplicating, which is where you take one set of emails and essentially weed out any emails within that set that are duplicates of other emails in that set or duplicates of other documents that you've already looked at.
The next phase, or the second phase, if there are new records, is what the FBI calls eyes on, which means each physical record is reviewed and the intel agencies then get final say if they generated the information on classification information. So really, in layman's terms, you're talking several days to know whether they're duplicates or not. But then beyond that, you're talking weeks or months to understand the classification here, Shepard.
Unless there aren't many of them, and most of them are duplicates, and they can get through it quickly, right? Isn't that so?
They can get through the duplicates pretty quickly. That's correct. But if there are new records, you then have to determine whether there's classified material. And again, that is something the FBI cannot do independently. They have to do that through the agencies that generated the information. And based on all of our experience with the State Department records, it can be a long and sometimes contentious process. Remember? Was it classified when it was sent or not? You know, whole business. Upgraded.
And I understand we're hearing from Huma Abedin's lawyer now.
That's right. An attorney with deep connections to the White House is representing Huma Abedin. She's Weiner's estranged wife. Karen Dunn is telling reporters that Abedin was surprised to learn her emails were on the computer in the first place. And her statement reads in part, quote, "From the beginning, Ms. Abedin has complied fully and voluntarily with State Department and law enforcement requests, including sitting for hours-long interviews and providing her work-related and potentially work-related documents." But here's the thing. When the FBI director made his statement in July, he felt that he was dealing with a complete body of evidence. They had all of the records. If there are new records on Anthony Weiner's computer, this kind of turns the whole thing upside down in many respects, as well as her sworn declarations, Abedin's sworn declarations to the court that she'd handed over everything and searched every relevant device, which may not have been the case here.
It sounds like somehow all of them didn't make it, but they have now.
Yeah.
Thank you. Nice to see you, Catherine. Yeah, we think. Let's bring in Julie Bikewit.
Right now, for more analysis, is the president of Judicial Watch, Tom Fitton. Tom, good to have you here. Huma Abedin said under oath that she turned over every device that had any work usage emails on them. And yet here we are in a situation where it seems investigators have found her husband's computer had numerous state.gov emails on it. That's according to sources. And that is what has led James Comey to reopen this entire investigation. Where do you think the truth is as it relates to what Huma knew?
Well, that's an issue we have to explore. I guess her lawyer saying she didn't know that her emails were on this other system. You know, in the end, it's up to the government to figure out where the records should have been and where they were. There was classified information on Mrs. Clinton's email server. Abedin was the only other State Department employee we're aware of who had an email account on that server. She was in constant communication with Mrs. Clinton. We've been releasing documents from Abedin's email systems, or emails that she did turn over to the State Department, almost once a month. And repeatedly, there's been classified information in those emails. We don't know what it is because it's redacted. So the FBI
so your point is she was
actually
emailing classified information. So it sounds like you're citing, or giving fault here to a few different entities, one of which is the FBI for not doing a proper investigation in the first place and finding these emails?
You know, and that's true. And Abedin, State Department, and Abedin's initial sin was taking records that she shouldn't have taken from the State Department. All those government emails that she created on her separate email accounts, the Clinton.com account, her Yahoo account evidently, none of that she should have retained. She should have turned it all over to the State Department. Right. She shouldn't have created the information
she's
on those
saying
accounts
that,
anyway.
she did, and she turned over all the devices that she used.
Well, she didn't say that. Well, hold on. She didn't say that. She said she turned over her computers to her lawyers,
to her knowledge.
and her lawyers never told us or the court, as the court requested, that they turned over all the emails.
So here's my question. So suppose we take her at her word and she didn't know that all these emails were on the home computer that she shared with her husband, Anthony Weiner. She must have, at some point, likely plugged her device into the home device, perhaps to load something. It could have been as innocent as a picture or whatever. And I'm just thinking out loud here as to how this could possibly be and how you reconcile them. And then somehow everything got loaded onto his device. But either way you slice it, whether she lied, whether she didn't lie, you're left with the knowledge that our classified information, our country's secrets, were somehow loaded onto his computer, whether she intentionally did it or not. That seems to be a real problem, Tom, and maybe gets back to this whole idea of the private server and just exactly a carelessness with classified information overall.
Well, that's why it's illegal to keep classified information on non-governmental servers in insecure places, unsecure places. Abedin and Hillary Clinton left classified information on the internet equivalent of a park bench. You know, frankly, Mr. Weiner having access to that information would be the least of our problems, given the fact that the Russians might have, the Iranians, the Chinese, who else knew? And the FBI has said that it's almost certain that they were that information was breached.
A lot of questions that need to get answered soon. Tom, good to have you here. Thank you so much.
By stepping down, President Mubarak responded to the Egyptian people's hunger for change. But this is not the end of Egypt's transition. It's a beginning. I'm sure there will be difficult days ahead, and many questions remain unanswered. But I am confident that the people of Egypt can find the answers and do so peacefully, constructively, and in the spirit of unity that has defined these last few weeks. For Egyptians have made it clear that nothing less than genuine democracy will carry the day.
Hillary Clinton's top aide, Huma Abedin, is in the legal spotlight once again, this time in regards to her possible involvement with Clinton's private email server. And in new emails obtained by Judicial Watch this week, it appears Abedin may have sent out top classified information on a non-secure server. One America's Emily Miller has the latest from Washington.
The watchdog group Judicial Watch got new emails this week that show Hillary Clinton and one of her closest aides exchanging classified information via her unsecure home server.
Thank you, Huma. Thank you, Huma.
Huma is Huma Abedin, one of Hillary Clinton's closest aides for many years. Trump jokingly thanked Huma because it's due to her that the FBI director reopened the criminal investigation into Hillary Clinton. The FBI found new emails while investigating Abedin's husband, disgraced former Congressman Anthony Weiner, for sexting with a 15-year-old girl.
There's this device, this computer, that
Huma Abedin swore under oath she had turned everything over. It's clear she hadn't. FBI agents in New York, while pursuing one investigation, come across this other information, and it can't be ignored.
On top of that, Judicial Watch got this new batch of emails this week between Clinton and Huma Abedin. The courts forced the government to turn them over.
In this case, what we're talking about is documents that the FBI identified from their forensic recovery of records that Mrs. Clinton tried to destroy in Bleach Pit.
These emails show in black and white that 3 classified emails were sent on Clinton's home server. Like this one, a chain from Huma Abedin's ClintonEmail.com account. Down here in it, you can see the B1, that's shorthand for classified, and then this big block of information redacted from an email to Hillary Clinton at ClintonEmail.com. That's her home server.
And in the case of these 3 that are classified, it really magnifies the grave risk that the public was put at.
Among all these email details, it's the big picture that is important to the presidential election.
We are in the midst of an ongoing discovery of a national security crime. Classified defense information, national secrets, were likely compromised to hostile foreign actors because they were sent across Mrs. Clinton's unsecured server.
Huma Abedin's lawyer said that she never knew that these emails were on her husband's computer. Nevertheless, Huma, who is almost always at Hillary Clinton's side, has been off the campaign trail and in hiding in New York ever since the FBI reopened the investigation. Emily Miller, One America News, Washington.
More on the Clinton Foundation. The New York Post broke a bombshell story that one of Hillary Clinton's top aides, Huma Abedin, worked at a radical Muslim journal for 12 years. Some of those years covered the same time while she was working at the White House as an intern for then First Lady Hillary Clinton. Author and filmmaker of Hillary's America, The Secret History of the Democratic Party, Dinesh D'Souza, is with me now. Dinesh, thanks for the time. So Huma Abedin's mom is editor-in-chief. Was Huma Abedin really working on this paper, or did her mom just put her name on the letterhead?
Well, I think it's the Abedin family has got ties that go to the Muslim Brotherhood and a whole bunch of radical organizations. And the point with the Clintons is that throughout their life, they've created this amoeba-like extension of groups and organizations. And it isn't just ideological. It's also a money funnel to the Clintons that goes either to them or to their foundation. So this whole thing needs to be sort of carefully examined by the media. I think the problem for our democracy right now is that so many in the media are covering for the Clintons and covering up for them. And so the necessary kind of hard work of dissecting this, that's not happening.
So we're going to show this video here, and it's from my colleague James Rosen of Fox. And this is Hillary Clinton in Saudi Arabia, where she was on a state visit and introduced there by Huma Abedin's mom. I think we're going to show it. So there it is. Our viewers can see. Dinesh, you've probably already seen it. But James Rosen worked on this, and this is obviously taken from a 2010 event that he attended also in Saudi Arabia. So this just reinforces what you just said about the ties and perhaps a relationship that's too close.
Well, I think in the past in American politics, there have been accusations of launched at both political parties that they're too vulnerable to the financial influence of corporations, rich people, people who want something out of government. But never before have we seen foreign governments and foreign entities, and I'm talking about Canadian billionaires who want mineral rights, and the Russian government that wants to buy uranium within the United States, and in this case, Arab countries and Muslim countries that want to influence U.S. policy, and they do so by, in a sense, funneling money through the Clinton Foundation, and doing that, buying the influence of then Secretary of State Clinton.
When you've been working on your pieces, what is the most surprising thing that you found about the Clintons that you think most of America doesn't know?
Well, I think many people, even many Republicans, think of Hillary as an extension of Obama, and that Hillary's 4 years, let's say, will be the same as Obama, this remaking of America. But I think at the end of the day, Obama, although I disagree with him, is an ideologue. He has a vision for America. He has a vision for the world. Hillary and Bill operate, I think, more like Bonnie and Clyde. These are two people who are on the make and on the take. They were making money in Arkansas by, you remember when Hillary put up $1,000 and made $100. $700,000 almost overnight with no risk. Then when they went to the White House, they were renting out the Lincoln bedroom, taking curios out of the cabinet, selling pardons to big-time felons. So this is their sordid history.
Indeed it is. I want to go back to something, Dinesh, that we talked about just a few moments ago because I neglected to bring in this quote directly, and I need to read it from the Clinton camp, which denies an active role at the publication. That is to say that Huma Abedin did not have, according to the Clinton camp, an active role. So here's the quote. I need to read it verbatim. My understanding is that her name was simply listed on the masthead in that period. She did not play a role in editing at the publication. So we've already discussed the fact that even if that's true, it's still too close.
Well, with the Clintons, you see, and this has been outlined in press reports and in studies, a kind of three-step maneuver. Bill goes someplace and gives a wildly overcompensated speech. He speaks for 15 minutes and he gets $700,000. Then Hillary modifies American policy in line with what some donor wants, and then tens of millions flow into the Clinton Foundation. So then the Clintons say, well, there's no connection between these three events. They were just coincidental. But when the coincidences occur again and again and again, we are not unjustified in seeing a pattern.
All right, Dinesh, I thank you as always. Glad to have you here.
Donald Trump asking the questions many people are wondering. Will the latest scandal force Hillary Clinton to dump her most trusted aide, Huma Abedin? Joining me now is Nina Burley, national politics correspondent at Newsweek. Nina, you have reported extensively on Huma Abedin and how long she has been with Hillary Clinton. Speak about the loyalty between these two women.
Well, Huma arrived in the White House when the Monica Lewinsky scandal was erupting, and all of the women around the First Lady at that time were crouched defensively around her, and Huma was this young college girl, really, and she proved herself to be extremely helpful. She would do she carried the bags, she was the body woman, and she was completely reliable. She's very conservative in her personal life, Wiener notwithstanding. She didn't drink, she doesn't go out at night, so she was somebody that Hillary could really rely on and trust, and she was her body woman, which means she carried her clothes and got her hair done and so on, and then she climbed the ladder within the system, slowly becoming more and more a part of the Clinton world system. And by the time Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State, Huma Abedin was her filter. She was the one through whom all of the people who wanted to get to the Secretary of State had to go. She was the gatekeeper. So that's why you have emails from Huma that are important. But I do want to add something that I've been thinking about since I've been watching your show this morning. We have spent more time in this election talking about emails than we have immigration, domestic policy, foreign policy, and climate change, not to mention reproductive rights. These issues have completely overshadowed the election. The word emails, I mean, you and I, are we not tired of saying the word emails? So my point is, we have come to a situation where, yes, Anthony Weiner has 650,000 emails somehow on his laptop. Some of them belong to Huma Abedin. It's like we're in this axis of penile.
Yes, but it's
Clinton,
a trust.
We have
but before,
Trump, and we have Weiner, and that's all we talk about is their sex lives.
But many Americans would say, before you give someone the power to be president of the United States, where they would influence climate change, policy, education, immigration, you need to trust them. And Hillary Clinton, around email, has a trustworthiness issue. When you look at what's happened over the weekend, we haven't heard from Huma Abedin. Hillary Clinton herself. You
won't hear from Huma Abedin. She's a woman of mystery. She avoids the limelight, and it's a very strange situation for somebody to be in who is avoiding the limelight. Like her boss, they're both people who don't like to be. They try to be private, and so that's how this whole thing started. They were trying to keep some of her private emails private, and of course there were forces on all sides trying to open up and crack open and find out whether there was classified information on these emails, and that's what this is all about. But we've gone through it over and over and over again, and I just think we've come to a point where, 8 days down, yes, people should make their decisions based on something other than emails. I mean, one of the stories I finished writing recently was on how the Bush administration lost 22 million emails relating to the Iraq War, and those emails did not reappear.
And you see,
and they didn't answer subpoenas to Congress. They were in contempt of Congress on it. I mean, those were actual problems.
Okay, then. Well, thanks so much for joining us, and thanks for reporting on this. All right, Nina Burley of Newsweek.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.
Oh, it's time for Final Thoughts. Folks, where there's smoke, there's fire, and you can call this woman Smokey the Bear. That would be Hillary's top aide, Huma Abedin. Folks, there is so much to go over here, so let me take a crack at it. Let's start with a little background on Huma Abedin. From 1995 to 2008, Huma fancied herself a journalist at the Journal of Muslim Minority Affairs. That would be a Sharia law journal whose editor-in-chief was Huma's own mother. So let's learn more about her family ties, shall we? Her mother also sits on a presidency staff council for a group chaired by, wait for it, the leader of the Muslim Brotherhood. Oh, but that's right. Speak of the devil, and it's just another right-wing conspiracy. No, sorry, not this time, Hillary. This casual relationship between Brotherhood Princess Huma Abedin, Hillary, the foundation, and Saudi Arabia is bad enough, but then we discover the pay-to-play rules. Be a donor, get a job. Thank goodness for Judicial Watch. We now know from a little look-see at Huma's emails that Hillary's State Department gave special access to top Clinton Foundation donors. You too can get favors from the State Department. It'll just cost you anywhere from $25,000 to $10 million. I wonder what the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia will get for its $10 million contribution. Put the witch in the White House and we'll find out. I wonder what country is known for sex discrimination and human rights abuses, such as Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Kuwait, Oman, Brunei, and Algeria will get from President Hillary. Put the witch in the White House and we'll find out. Is this really the woman and the team and the corruption you want to see in the White House? I could really care less what's in Hillary's catheter or colostomy bag. The real crap is in the 30,000 plus emails Hillary didn't turn over to the State Department. She deleted more emails than she turned over. And Democrats, you're okay with that? Americans, you're okay with that? Never Trumpers, you're okay with that? The FBI just uncovered 15,000 more emails she deemed just too private to turn over. Oh, and then she has the audacity to blame it on Colin Powell. Are you freaking kidding me, Hillary? Does she think we're imbeciles? Here's my advice to Hillary Clinton. Just be honest. It will set you free. You have so many lies circulating and so many stories to cover up your lies. Eventually, you will implode. You've been on a 40-year hot streak, but you're getting old, dear, and the cream is going to rise, the crap is going to hit the fan, and the American people will realize you might wear an ugly pantsuit, but the emperor has no clothes. And to all the so-called journalists out there, when this thing eventually busts open after several hundred Freedom of Information Act requests, the American people are going to look at you cozy Clinton groupies and say, what the hell? Don't be late to the party and expect to get in. Those are my final thoughts. From Dallas, good night, and take care.
Let Huma back in, please, and then close the door and stand there beside her for a while. I don't mean disrespectful, but please leave me alone. No, not at all.
Not separating. So where are you on the statement?
I can't get through to them on the telephone. We keep getting interrupted. They think that this is not going to work. They think this is whatever. I don't know. I'm like very anxious about you and I being apart today. So just fine.
Yeah.
Listen to me. Just phone up. Phone up.
Maybe not this. No. Anthony's just trying to get you on.
Hi. Well, you're saying that the timeline is the problem. I get it. Okay, so go ahead. Obviously, look, this is a continuum of challenges in our marriage that ended at a certain point, and decided to move forward with our lives, and that was a problem, and that's behind us. As we said, other things would come out. No. Obviously, we're getting deluged. Well, my head is at try to sell this as something that people already know. Hello? You guys still there? For a second, you two guys. It was clearly not the right way to go. That was a mistake on my part. The level of guilt and pain that I feel, I'm very sorry I put everyone in this position. It's going to continue a little while. Hi. It's going to continue a little while longer. But I, generally think scandals and crisis management has a 72-hour rule. After the 72 hours, it's not on the lead of drudge anymore. We're going to try to look normal, like we're holding together as a group. It's going to be rough for a while. Where we really are is back to where we were on day one. All that being said, I want to give you a chance to either vent or to ask me questions.
I think that my team is in a better place than I'm in. I'm in a very bad place, to be very frank. As of this moment, I am here in this room, and I'm in this campaign, and we can continue this conversation.
You guys should talk directly. Two of you. What are you, the referee over there? Okay.
No, I'm just saying. I mean,
okay, cool.
it's on it.
No, I know, but I just wanted to see if there might be things that other people might want to say, like, yeah, I'm there too.
And I think some of us have been frustrated with feeling like we're left in the dark, not even about, the actual situation, but more like how it's being done. My whole team, Barbara's team, like they
Right.
but that was what I would like to flag for everybody that stuff like this, we're reporting back to the New York Times, something there. I'm walking down the street and getting ready to grab a New York Post reporter. It's not, you guys, it's a sign. Perfect to watch today, the way they were treating me in the street. Yeah, we're walking and they were like badgering her. And they're like, if we don't get sharp questions, we're going to write that you're asking unfair. And it was bad. Just a quick optics thing, Barbara's really leaving next to Mr. John, which is the one side, so. Happy? Yes. You look happy? Yes. You look happy? Yes. So I'm saying this for you. I don't want to be the press secretary walked out very upset at 6:30.
Everyone has to exhale.